Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and yeah, I'm going to be doing a bit of a revisit and turn my phone off as well of the Panther with 88, Panther MIT 88, or just Panther 8.8, whatever you want to call it. I did a kind of mini review a while ago with this one, and I have mentioned before that I'm going to do the revisits, and didn't really get too far through it. I think I did the Super Pershing, so there's the original review, and then the sort of revisit with the module viewer. And same with this, basically. There was no module and armor viewer available when I did the original review, and on top of that, this has received a couple of buffs as well. There have been a few tanks actually that I've sort of reviewed and have then received sort of buffs or nerfs, etc. So I'm going to try and get back through and sort of highlight them all. And the reason I'm doing this one is somebody mentioned it to me earlier. They'd picked it up in the summer sale for quite a decent price, and they were enjoying the tank, but they did mention obviously the buffs and what have you, so I thought, you know, I'll get back to doing the revisits sort of gradually. But anyway, I thought I'd start with the Panther 88, with it being on the summer sale and with it having those buffs. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm going to basically highlight the buffs and a nerf as well. Yeah, there's been a sneaky nerf on it from when I did the original one, and then we'll have a look at it in the module viewer, and basically then just, you know, a couple of replays, and that's it really. Pretty standard stuff. So, like I say, I'm not going to get too much into it. I'm going to highlight the differences. Well, originally it had a 600 horsepower engine. I've been back and had a look at my other review, and it got buffed to 100 horsepower. Got buffed by 100 horsepower up to 700, which I think brings it in line with the Craft Panther, which is I think something that I've mentioned before, possibly not in the original review. I think it was later on, maybe even the Craft Panther review, that it really ought to have been brought up just to, not to be like the same size engine as a Panther 2 or a fully upgraded Panther, but just, you know, at least the Craft Panther. Give it a bit more than below stock, which it was originally, because the stock one was a 650. Other than that, it's had its traverse increased by a few degrees up to 40, which I think it was, I don't know if it was 38 before, possibly. I can't remember now, I've just looked at it, but anyway. It's now increased to 40 degrees, which, I mean, before it had a slightly better hull traverse than the standard Panther, which basically just made up for the lack of engine power that it had. Because I think the engine power does go into your traverse rates, that sort of thing. So yeah, it basically just sort of made up for that. But now it's had the extra 100 horsepower given to make it up to 700, and it's had the extra hull traverse put on. It's become more mobile than it was before, and it's, you know, you didn't have to use it as a medium range sort of support sniper before. You could use it a bit closer up. When you got a bit more confidence in it, you could use it a bit more frontline when the odds were in your favour with regards to matchmaking. And I have got a replay with that to show you after this. But now with the extra horsepower and the extra traverse, and they've also sorted the gun depression, because before you couldn't get your full gun depression over the front of the tank, it was only over the sides. Now you can get your full depression over the front. It's made it a little bit easier to use it more on the front lines when the odds are in your favour. But other than that, engine wise and what have you, it's exactly the same, apart from the accuracy. The accuracy used to be 0.31, it's now 0.32. Aiming time's the same, but accuracy has been nerfed slightly. Not by much, I mean, you know, you'll admit, you know, 0.1 isn't much of a nerf, but it is there. So it used to be 0.31, it's now 0.32, but I believe that is still more accurate than the Panther 2's gun, which is, I think, 0.34. Yeah, there you go. And it has a worse aim time, and it has a lower rate of fire, and turret traverse, and hull traverse. So, there you go. Don't forget the Panther 88 also only sees up to tier 9. It does get preferential matchmaking because it is essentially a Panther hull with the Panther 2's gun a tier higher. Now, it's still got 5mm less on the front than the stock Panther does. Stock Panther, Tech Tree Panther, which has 85. This has 80 on the front, but other than that, it's the same. So yeah, other than that, it is exactly the same. It's just had the engine buff. It's also had, like I say, the traverse buff, and it's had that slight nerf to the gun. Now, Like I say, we didn't have the modular viewer last time either, but the power to weight ratio translates to 15.07, and let's just compare it to the Craft Panther, which has 16.35, so that is still slightly faster because it has a lighter turret, and it's not as good as the Panther 2 at 16.32, but still it's better than it used to be. I don't know what it was exactly because we didn't have this viewer back then, but it is better with the extra 100 horsepower. You've got a 46 km/h top speed, 20 km in reverse, 20% chance of fire, so that's quite high. The engine is quite large, as it is in all the Panthers, and takes up most of the rear of the hull. Your 8 degrees of gun depression, like I say, is now all around the front and the sides of the hull, not just the over the sides, again, like it used to be, which has made it easier, like I say, when you're on the front lines, because you can get your gun down over the front to maybe aim at weak spots and not just be having to aim at the turret. Which seemed to be a bit of a problem before. Something else worth mentioning as well, you do have 1500 hit points, which is 50 more than a fully upgraded Panther 2. It's not a lot, but it could be the difference between surviving on a mercy roll and being killed. You know, I've survived on 8 health before and still taken out a couple of tanks after that. Well, admittedly, you know, they were on very low health and 1 shots each, but it doesn't matter. I still did it, and it's there. So, you know, that is there. You do only get 13 degrees of elevation though, which can be an issue when something gets above you. Track-wise, fantastic terrain resistances, which again help with the engine. It doesn't feel as sluggish as it should do, and you don't really notice that drop in power to weight ratio because the terrain resistances are so good. 0.6, 0.8 and 1.5, so it can keep its speed over most types of terrain as long as it's level. You know, obviously you will drop going up inclines, and the tracks are very solid as well. They're a very solid unit, so there's no gaps in there to shoot through. Concealment 0.16 and 0.12. There's no perma camo on this or anything, so you know that's pretty much sort of standard. They are quite big Panthers. Turret on top, radio in the front corner. You can just see there the front right corner of the hull. Ammunition blocks all in the sides, again similar place to most of the Panthers. So if you want to try and damage the ammo racks on these, you want to aim for the sloped side above the tracks, right below the turret, and that's both sides. And in fact the one on the left hand side of the hull, or the right as you're looking at it, you can actually damage through the front, so you want to go for the upper right corner of the hull, which is a good one to go for as well. So yeah, just aim above the tracks, below the turret, and you've got a good chance of damaging ammo racks on these. Something else worth mentioning that I didn't have before is the shell velocity of this 88mm gun. Very, very good shell velocity, so you don't have to lead your targets as much, and the shell velocity on your APCR is very good as well at 1250 meters a second, and your standard ammo, including your HE rounds, are 1000 meters a second, which is, you know, really quite good at shell velocity. Crew members, you've got 5 in here. You've got the driver and hull machine gunner down in the front of the hull, and then as usual you've got the gunner, loader and commander up in the turret. Commander under his cupola, and it is quite a small cupola as well. It's not very big. It's actually not as big as it is on this turret on the Panther 2, which is again also worth noting, but it is pretty much, other than that, the standard Schmaltz-term turret. Now, armour profile, 120 on the front of the turret, 60 on the sides and rear, and your hull is 80 on the front, 50 on the side, and I'm going to have to bring this up to check because I can't quite remember, 40 on the rear. So you do lose 5mm on the front of your hull, but you make up for it for having a bloody big gun, much bigger gun than the standard Panther. And also worth noting, the machine gun port on the front of the Panther and the Panther 8.8 is not a weak spot. It is, however, on the Panther 2, so do bear that in mind. The Panther 2 has thicker armour on the front, but it's got that machine gun port weak spot. So armour wise, it's pretty basic, to be honest. It's all pretty straightforward. 1 to 20mm, you've got your bazooka plate, so your side skirts, whatever you want to call them, they do act as spaced armour, and you've got the whole floor. 21 to 30, your tracks fall into that. They're quite wide, a little bit under the turret as well. Don't forget your tracks act as a certain amount of spaced armour, and again a bit of the whole floor. 31 to 50 is your front deck, the front, not the engine deck, the front bit. In fact, the engine deck, yeah, is that category there. Also the hull sides and the rear of the tank all fall into that. Don't forget 50mm for the side, 40 for the rear, but it is pretty just standard all over. But again, you've got your tracks guarding a lot of your lower hull. Actually, there's not much of your hull that's 50mm sticking up above that. You've got your tracks in front of it below, and you've got those side plates that will give you a bit of protection from HE rounds. If they hit them, it'll set them off. 5170, that's the sides of your turret. Oh yeah, also worth noting, nearly missed those, I forgot about these, I do forget about them on the Panther 2 as well. The rangefinders on the side of the turret are weak spots as well, so if you are struggling to get through the turret because you're a lower tier and you can't get through the hull, or you can't see the hull, and you can't quite hit the commander's hatch, or you're struggling to, you know, pen that or whatever, the rangefinder balls on the side are weak spots. So 5170, bit of the muzzle, yeah, not gun mantle on this one, and basically the sides and rear of the turret is, you know, it's all just pretty flat, basic, apart from those rangefinders. 71 to 90, that's your 80mm of upper glacis, and again a little bit more around the muzzle where the gun actually goes into the turret. 91 to 120, well that's your 120 on the front of your turret, and it's also worth noting that your commander's cupola, the bottom ring of that, is also 120. The upper part is very thin but very well sloped. And then 121 to 160, the thickest bit on the front, which is 150mm, is that part there, just where the gun goes into the muzzle, or the conical gun mantle, whatever you want to call it, that's where it is. Other than that, I think that's about it really. That's all we didn't cover in the original. So, like I say, from the front, if you can't get to the lower glacis, you can't get through the upper or the turret front, commander's hatch, or rangefinders on the side of the turret. And it's also worth noting that that's the same with the Panther 2 and the E75. When that has those rangefinders on the side of the turret, they are a weak spot. But the machine gun port on the front of this is not a weak spot, whereas on the Panther 2 it is. So there you go. Everything else, all the other information is in the original review, and that's about it really. I've covered the buffs and everything else and the modules, so let's get into the replays. We are for the first of the replays, and like I said in the garage bit, with the original review of this, you know, I did say about it being a medium range sniper, and yeah, it is. And I think that's, if I remember rightly, that's what I showed in the replays on that one. However, now that it's had that buff to the engine power, it's had the gun depression sorted for, you know, sort of all over the front of the tank. It can also be used as a bit more front line when the, you know, like I say, when the matchmaking is in your favour, and in this one it is. It's a tier 8 match, but there's not many tier 8s on each team. So I'm heading down to the, well, heading down or heading across, whatever you want to say. I'm heading up to the corner up at A1, A2 area here on El Halouf now. I think I am. Yeah, I am. I'm platooned up with my lovely wife. She's in her T29, which she recently got fully upgraded. And like I say, with the, you know, with the gun depression being sorted over the front, and, you know, with having a little bit more manoeuvrability or mobility, I'm going to use it a bit more frontline in this match. And I mean, I did used to use it frontline before the buffs. You know, like, well, when it was in my favour anyway, but now it just seems a little bit easier. So I've come straight up onto this corner, hoping to catch anything going across to try and get up to the proper corner. Here we go. Here's a Tiger 1, and you're about to see me clumsily take on this Tiger 1, and it is a bit clumsy, to be honest. I think this is the first time. No, it isn't. This is the second match I've had in the Panther 8.8. I've not been in it for a while. I've been concentrating on Panther 2 and stuff like that, and a couple of other premiums for earning money. But after doing that, do you know, I do this with the Panther 8.8. I don't go in it for a few weeks, and then I'll go in it and I'll have forgotten how much fun I have in it. And not everybody's going to have fun in this tank. I'm not saying, oh, it's a fantastic tank, everybody should go out and buy it. I'm just saying that, you know, I do have fun in this tank, and every time I don't go in it, I just forget how much fun I have in it. And it can be such a fantastic earner. The rate of fire is really good on this. like I said, 8.69 rounds a minute. The Panther 2 with the same gun gets 7.5 or 7.6 rounds a minute. So, you know, the rate to fire is nice, the accuracy is nice, the aiming time is not bad. And the long 88 is a decent gun anyway. Now the Tiger's gone. Put a few shots into that Type 59, tracked him. I was hoping to keep him tracked, but I thought he was going to use his repair kit, and he did. I'm surprised he didn't use it a bit sooner, actually. But he's now burnt his repair kit. And I was just waiting. My wife went up in a T29 just to see where they were and see where that T29 was. I didn't want to come over that rise. T29? Type 59. Didn't want to come over the rise to a Type 59. Got some shots on the bore, so keep an eye out. There's a Firefly. My wife actually took a shot at the Firefly and it bounced off the turret, I think it was. Which is always frustrating because the Firefly doesn't really have much armour. Now, I could take the shot, but that's what I was waiting for. We were on the headset in a party, so I knew that was coming. Now, I'd seen a light tank over there. I actually thought he was in that bush, so I took a speculative shot at him. And I take a nasty hit in the side from a Jag Panther 2, which damages my engine, which is a... Well, he's down the other end somewhere, and I was quite surprised to take that hit, actually. I really didn't think the Panther 2 would be looking this way. I thought it'd be looking across the valley. But there you go. A nice accurate shot on the move into the M6. And somebody took him out. Not sure what that was. It almost looked like a howitzer because it came in at quite a high angle. I thought it was RT at first, but then we went and got RT, so I'm not sure. There's the Jag Panther 2, and it's almost just a case of mopping up a bit now. Getting up here and seeing what we can do. But as you can see, the matchmaking was quite favourable. Didn't manage to pen the Jag Panther 2, but I'd damaged his gun. Nope, he's done, and yeah, it's one of those times where it's just, you know, you start looking at the people that are left and they just start exploding in front of you before you can actually get a shot off. There's that light tank. Got him this time. And I'm guessing he's probably burnt his repair kit. And he's done. Now, it's also worth mentioning that I think maybe in the garage bit I've got vents on here. I think I have swapped those out now for coated optics. And I personally prefer the coated optics on it. It just gives me a bit more view range. Allows me to not outspot everything, but outspot some of the stuff. Especially for when when it's a tier 9 match or heavily tier 9 and you need to stay back a bit. I find the coated optics help more than the vents do. And there we go. Not a bad little round. Like I say, use that one to just show you that you can use it front line. It doesn't always have to be medium range sniper, and you can use it a bit further forward. So 2,791 XP, just under 100,000 credits, and a Confederate out of that one. So yeah, quite happy with that. Not a bad match. And like I say, it just sort of reminded me of how much fun I can have in the Panther 8.8. I've also had some very, very bad rounds in it, where I've just sort of made a mistake, got spotted and got annihilated near the beginning of the match. And it happens, when you're sort of heading off somewhere and, I don't know, like a light tank will come really far forwards on the enemy team, and that's it, you get spotted and boom, dead. Now this one, Abbey. Tier 9 match, and I don't know, I've kind of used this one. I don't know. I found it. I thought it was quite an interesting match, and it shows a couple of things. It shows that ridiculous rate of fire of this, that how much you can punish somebody if you just catch them unawares or catch them in the right position. And I don't know. Possibly because this was supposed to go up last night. I'm trying to get them up in the evening as well, but it's if I can get them up in the morning, at least they're going up. But by the time it comes to around the time where I'll be normally editing and uploading this, at the moment I'm in a lot of pain, obviously with having a fractured foot. So that's why I'm sort of getting them done in the morning, just relaxing a little bit at night time. But one of the tips that went up yesterday, or the tip from World of Tanks for World of Tanks Tip Tuesday, was that even a damaged tank can be as dangerous as a full health one. And this kind of shows that a little bit. I was so just gutted at the end of this, and you'll see why. Although, like I said at the time, I don't know what I could have done after that, or after I'd have done what I was doing. I really don't know how much I could have done after that with what was left, but yeah. And again, I don't think I'd really be this. I don't want to be too aggressive, because it is a tier 9 match. I was just trying to spot the guys up there. I think I've got coated optics at this point. I've got situational awareness, so my view range is going to be better than a Russian heavy. So I'm going to get a little bit further up the corner and try and hit this T95E2. That TD, that T25/2 is, well, let's just say he's been brave. Yeah, I would not be that far forward in a tier 9 match in one of those, especially down this side. So yeah, he's been brave. Now, unfortunately, an E75 has gone up into the town in the middle of the map, and most of our team, I don't know what's happened, they've ended up kind of following us down here a little bit and just milling around near our cap. There's not really anybody gone the other way, gone into the town. So there's an E75 sat up there in the town, able to shoot down into here pretty much with impunity, because nobody on the team is going after him. So I'm trying to keep him distracted, I'm trying to not get killed by him, and I'm trying to stop him from killing my wife, because at the moment she's in her T29 nearby and he's putting shots into the side of her turret. I've just had engine damage there from the KV3 and taken another hit from the T95E2. I actually mistakenly thought he was dead. That one did take me by surprise slightly, but that's left me on 8 health, which is not particularly good. Trying to damage this E75, and I don't know what happens here. I have no idea. Tracked him. I know that that's the side of his tank, and I don't know. I wonder if I'm just hitting the wall, if it's just dropping slightly, but nothing seems to be. I'm not even getting bounced, I'm not even getting, we couldn't penetrate, nothing. Just shooting at him and nothing's happening, and I'm not quite sure what's going on here. And you can see I'm looking for different spots on him. That one bounced, so what was happening with the others, I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. I wonder if I was just aiming slightly low and hitting that wall. Now the T95E2 I think has dropped down to the riverside, and he's coming round behind us now in a, well, he has a little bit of game, a little game of Ring Around the Roses. Unfortunately, the E75 did manage to kill my wife in her T29. I was trying to keep him distracted. For some reason, didn't seem to be doing anything to him, and he just took her out and then went and did what he was doing. But here's the T95E2, and I was going to pop over and put a shot into him, but no, the T10 is going to continue chasing him round in circles, and I was laughing quite a lot at that point because he just chased him round in a circle once or twice before that. So I'll put an end to it and ruin the game. Now, it's not looking very good. Most of our team, I say most of our team, about half of our team are done. The enemy have got a small lead, but they're now surrounding our cap. I'm on 8 health. We've got the TD continuing up towards the enemy cap. I've got a heavy coming down here behind me. And that's pretty much it. And there's a heavy just left around here, and I'm going to see if I can save him, but he is getting surrounded. There is a TD up in the cap, and it's a T30. Wonderful. And that was close. That also... No, I don't think they have heat. Do they? I don't know, that just looked like the wrong trail colour for standard ammo. Or was it? Oh, I don't know, but anyway. Regardless of that, he missed, so it doesn't matter. But I've got to be very, very careful here. I was hoping he was going to fire on that heavy. Here he comes, though. Put a shot in and just pulled forward as he fired. Now, that smoked, and it didn't ricochet, it exploded. I wonder if he is firing heat. But I've now tracked him as he tried to pull back. I've got that wreck just in between us, and with the rate of fire of this, if he ain't got a repair kit, he's not going anywhere. And that's it, basically. He's just... I'm going to sit here and hopefully just pick away his health, but his bloody tracks have come back up. And he pulls back, just managed to knock his track off again. And get a bit too cocky to go round, and it bounced, and his didn't. Yeah. Gutted. Got a bit too confident then, like I say, it just bounced, and that was it, done. Well, there you go, still not a bad round. It shows its rate of fire, shows that, you know, just because he damaged don't mean he can't be dangerous, and still came out with 2,500 damage done, and at top of the table as well, so there you go. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that little revisit to the Panther 8.8. I shall be back later on today with the Road to Tier 10 series, so until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.